on Saturday night. Yeah, this is across the street from the Blue Line Metro Station in Compton. It is a female deputy, 31-year-old wife and mother, and a 24-year-old male deputy. Stable condition, but obviously taking those bullets. And if you've seen the video and the pictures too, when they were, she was trying to help him as they called for help to the scene. Steve Gregory got there quickly to cover this story. He's with us now.
I just watched the full video. He showed me on his phone of the female officer tying the male officer's arm with a tourniquet to try to stop his bleeding, and she's got blood gushing out of her jaw, and I don't know how she was able to remain so calm and upright and be so helpful and potentially save his life there. That was stunning. I mean,
here's the thing. So let's go to this is Sheriff Cut A. This is Sheriff Villanueva, Saturday night, 10 p.m. at St. Francis Medical Center.
They're both suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. They're out of surgery right now, so we're going to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. One is a 31-year-old mother of a 6-year-old boy. Her husband is here with them. The other one is a 24-year-old. And parents are here. Girlfriend is here. They're both out of class 437, so they just graduated. In fact, I swore them into office just 14 months ago. These are real people doing a tough job, and it just shows just the dangers of the job in the blink of an eye.
Captain Kent Wegner is heading up the investigation. He's with Homicide Bureau at the Sheriff's Department, and he spoke early on in the press conference as well, and this will be Kent A. This is him sort of giving an overview of the facts that they know as of now.
Shortly before 7 p.m., two deputies from our Transit Services Bureau were parked adjacent to 101 East Palmer in the city of Compton. That's just north of the Compton PAX for the Blue Line. The suspect approached them from behind as the deputies were facing southbound in their patrol vehicle. The suspect came from the north. He walked along the passenger side of the car. He acted as if he was going to walk past the car, and then he made a left turn directly toward the car, raised a pistol, and fired several rounds inside of the vehicle, striking both of the sheriff's deputies. The suspect then fled on foot, northbound from the shooting scene and out of view. The deputies radioed for help. Assisting units from the district responded and transported both those deputies here to St. Francis Medical Center.
How do the police go after a guy like this? He just disappears into the darkness, and there isn't a whole lot of evidence left behind.
Well, here's the thing. We don't know that. We don't know because there are a lot of cameras at those bus stops and train stops. There are a lot of surveillance cameras. And you figure the video I showed you was from one angle.
Right.
The video of the actual shooting is from another angle. So they got multiple angles there. I had been told Saturday by a source that they had actually had a partial plate for a vehicle that could have been the getaway car. I'm being told, and we've not been able to independently confirm this, that they were actually looking for a late model Mercedes, and that they were looking for two people. One presumably was the driver of the getaway car.
So would that indicate this was a premeditated attack?
That would indicate that, and that was the other question I had of Captain Wegner that night, though he said it was way too soon because he had just gotten to the scene. He was being briefed sort of en route. So he couldn't really have a clear picture of what was happening either. And in talking to other law enforcement people over the weekend about motive and motivation on this, it's like either this was a gang initiation, or this could have been a debt payoff, or this could have been something to just stir up more discourse between law enforcement and the community, or it was just retaliation. But it would appear, and this is what I was trying to ask him, I said, was this a spontaneous act to where someone has a gun, some guy's got a gun, and he's walking around and he decides to shoot him? Or was there some thought put into this? And he says it's just too soon to tell, but then you look at how this was all calculated. Did this man know that they parked there all the time? Did he know that they would be there all the time? These are questions, but I'll tell you, like always, John, these guys know a lot more than they're telling us.
Yeah. Now, did this guy come out of the bus station? Did he come off the bus?
Well, that's what we had been told initially. But then if he came off the bus and there was a car waiting, that could be one thing. Or if the car dropped him off and he walked around, that's another. I had been told Saturday he had gotten off a bus.
Any chance this was a personal attack?
That's what I'm saying. It could be a retaliation of some kind.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if whoever this is going to brag somewhere that he did this.
Well, then did you see the tweet that had come out that yesterday by a deputy within the sheriff's department? It has since been deleted because it was sort of, when you look at it now, it's sort of in bad taste. But you kind of wonder what she was doing and where she was headed with this. And it comes from the handle of Deputy Juanita. And Deputy Juanita, she's a deputy within the Sheriff's Information Bureau. But she puts out on her Twitter yesterday, my advice to all the ex-girlfriends, side pieces, friends, wifey, old lady, dime, queen, baby mama, who know the Compton ambush shooter of 2 LA sheriffs, it's about getting that $100,000 reward, and then puts the phone number down to call. Well, and then there's a GIF that says, there's an African-American woman on it that says, make that money, girl.
Right.
So that's
a deputy putting out a...
but that's a very specific, targeted message.
Right. If your guy starts bragging about shooting 2 cops, then you could win $100,000.
Yeah, and she's going straight for the women who might know this man.
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
Back to the hospital, a couple of things. These Black Lives Matter protesters that were there, they weren't the leaders. Were they just, how did you know they had signs? Is that
Yeah,
what
they had signs and, defund the police. That the one I saw.
Now, how did they show up so fast?
Well, it was on social media immediately. Plus, if you look at more social media postings...
But I know, but you also have to be following certain people on social media that would know these things.
Right.
Are they following all the law enforcement agencies on social media so they could show up at an incident and start making trouble?
Yeah.
That's sick.
And then what was going on in real time, there's other video on there of people across the street from the train station seconds after the shooting, and you've got guys laughing, and they're recording themselves laughing and pointing at the deputies who are laying down and trying to get themselves up and into safety.
I noticed nobody was helping the deputies when they were trying to help each other.
But they're recording it. They're all standing there recording it.
Right, that's what I thought about the video from across the street, which when she was tying the tourniquet on his arm. Well, who is this person taking the video? Because you could tell it was a handheld video.
Right, and he turns around and he looks at himself laughing, going, oh, the deputies, they just got blah, 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 blah. And he was laughing, and so that's what you're dealing with. That's what they're dealing with.
And by the way, this reporter who got arrested at the scene near the hospital, what, did you see that too?
Here's the thing. I saw the arrest and didn't realize that was a reporter. I didn't know.
Well, that's a little controversy.
Well,
she claimed she identified herself as such, and they said they didn't know that.
Right. Now, I was sitting next to that reporter at the press conference. She was sitting to my left, a few people over from me, and it's just a little bit of space, 6-7 feet between us. And, I looked over, and I didn't notice a press credential. She did not have a press credential. Come to find out, she had a station ID on her, very similar to our iHeartMedia IDs. That's what she was wearing. She wasn't wearing an official press credential, but that really at this point doesn't matter much because of the actions that the sheriff's department say she took, and that was violating the interference in arresting somebody. It's called lynching, actually. That's the technical term. And the deputies say that she ran up on them while they were detaining somebody. And there's a problem they're having in Portland right now and all over the country with these protests. They're going up and grabbing people right out of police custody. That's called lynching.
Is it? I never heard
that technical term. Yeah, that is the technical term. If you look it up, lynching is the act of pulling somebody away from someone else's grasp like that, and in law enforcement like this. And that's what they're worried about. The deputies are worried about this. First of all, this reporter had nothing prominent on her to announce that she was a reporter. No microphone with a mic flag. That's the square thing with our logo around the microphone.
Right.
And every other reporter there that night was standing across the street. So somehow she got in the middle of this protest group, and I don't know at what point she identified herself, but when you look at everything else in the timeline, she doesn't start screaming the call letters of her radio station until she's flat down on the pavement.